need some research.
It smokes, it drinks, it philosophizes.
Just let me suck, please. Just a little suck on each one.
My mouth's bleeding, Bert! My mouth's bleeding!
Shall we talk now or wait?
WAMC.
My fucking glasses. I was just cleaning my glasses before the show. And the thing just snapped off. So I got it Gorilla Glued right now. Trying to dry it out and shit. But how fucking annoying is that? Everything I own is so cheap and shitty.
Entropy sucks. Shit's always falling apart.
Yeah, my body's falling apart.
Right.
Of course, I take care of it like shit. Like I said on that Facebook post at one time. Yes, my body is a temple, and I treat it just like I do every other temple. Zero respect. Sacrilegious motherfuckers.
Speaking of sacrilege, playing for keeps.
Oh my God.
Life itself was profound. Playing for keeps sucked. The end. Goodbye, everybody. See you next time.
This was an episode of Hard Out Cinephiliacs. I almost said Holy Clowns. That was our old shit, which I still kind of miss. We'll get to that with the Sacred Cows episode of Saturday Night Fever.
It gets more likes on Facebook than this. So
that's because we had Gall involved. No one gives a shit what we do. Speaking of shit we do that no one cares about,
right?
Hopefully you care about Pipeline Artists. They just launched a site. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's for artists of all stripes, writers, painters, poets. This podcast is linked on their listen page, so you know they got good taste. And I will be contributing some articles to them eventually, but didn't have anything prepared at launch. I'm writing an article on the power of procrastination, and it's taking me a while, predictably.
Go figure.
Right. What the fuck are we doing? Oh, yeah. Reviewing 2 movies today. The Ebert documentary by Steve James, Life Itself, which was Chris's pick. And my pick, Playing for Keeps, the film that Bob and Harvey Weinstein directed in 1986 before they realized they had zero talent as directors and should move on to other pastures. Because, man...
Who farted? Damn.
His sentence should be watching Playing for Keeps. It should be on a loop in his cell. They should commute his sentence and just lock him in his house with that shit playing 24/7. It'd be worse than prison.
Seriously, sorry. My mic's
The main highlight of it being that it was Marissa Tomei's first movie, and everyone's been in love with Marissa Tomei since My Cousin Vinny. I know I have been. I've told Gall before I'll fight him for her.
I know pretty much every dude wants to fight everyone else over.
Fucking Costanza. Wasn't that a whole Seinfeld thing?
Right, yes. Well, I think the hook was that she was into bald, short dudes with glasses.
Shit, dude. Put your glasses on. Come on, Gorilla Glue. Try.
I don't fight quite as short, but I could, every year I get more short.
Yeah, your posture helps. Where's my fucking
Too much of this shit sitting at computers in front of screens and shit.
Right.
Anyway. So what do you want to do first? Which movie?
Shit. Let's just get Playing for Keeps out of the way, I guess, because I don't know. Right. I mean, there's a lot to say about Harvey and shit, I guess. I mean, I don't know what's to be said that hasn't been said, but...
Do you think he casting couched any of these chicks in this movie? He probably, I think it might have come with the power. He didn't have power yet, so maybe not.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. I'm sure he wanted to.
Yeah.
But no.
Marissa particularly. But yeah, the movie itself, let's see. So since you picked it, do I have to describe it? Yeah. So it's, I mean, man, I watched it a couple weeks ago and it's already like faded quite a bit.
It's very,
I don't even remember how it ended really.
Like the plot and shit is terrible.
Yeah. It's just this guy, correct me if I get this wrong, but a guy inherits a hotel from a dead relative and these banker types want to buy it up, and instead he tries to turn it into this party house, basically this, hotel slash like a hard rock hotel sort of thing
for teenagers. A hotel for teenagers. That's a great idea. First weekend they'll all Johnny Depp the shit and trash it, as you see at the end when they all run in. Yeah, yes. This place is gonna last a fucking weekend.
So it's supposed to be this like inspiring thing where these kids reject like Footloose type of thing, you know, where like the youth tries to rebel against the stodgy, you know, uptight square, you know, elders of the town and shit. But man, it's just
terrible.
It's, you know, tone and
it felt like a couple of dudes who had a little bit of money were like, let's make a movie. Like, what about? I don't know what's hot right now. Because it felt like you mentioned Footloose. It had just a bunch of random scenes of motherfuckers wanting to dance and shit in the middle of it, even though it's not about dance and everything.
But it was like a point where they were painting the house and it was almost like choreographed the way they were dancing. Like, what the fuck happened? Yeah.
Like some Bertolt Brecht alienation effect shit, but not on purpose. You know?
Right. Yeah. Like some films would do that intentionally, you know, obviously. But this it didn't fit it at all. It just was out of place. It wasn't like it was a musical or something. But
they didn't do much of anything intentionally. That was the problem.
Right.
Like, what are hot movies do? Well, teens, they all have to band together to do something. Dancing's hot. Let's put some dancing in it and shit. Which, sorry, it's amazing to me because say what you want about the Weinsteins. I'll go on record right now. Here's maybe something that hasn't been said about them or isn't said often. Amazing fucking producers. Monsters maybe, but their taste, if that's what it's all about, curation, the projects they brought to the fore, 341 Oscar nominations, 81 wins. I mean, the best movies of the 90s. All the shit we love growing
They're like
up.
King
Goodwill
Maker
Hunting,
types,
Tarantino shit.
They have good taste maker type.
Yeah, exactly.
Figures, yeah.
Definitely made the best shit. Everything we think about the 90s, not everything, but a lot of what we think about the 90s as being like the golden age kind of for independent cinema was them.
They were responsible.
Clerks, all that shit. I mean, it wasn't made by them, but they knew what to pick up, what to distribute, if it weren't for them, the 90s would have sucked. What'd you say?
Troy Duffy.
Right. They weren't always right, but
well, yeah. That's a great documentary too. People should check out Overnight. It's about them trying to turn this Troy Duffy. It was off of Tarantino's success, the Boondock Saints writer and director, I think. They tapped him and gave him all this power and money, and he became this.
They like bought him his neighborhood corner bar that he hung out in and shit. It's insane.
This with their magic wand, fairy godmothered his ass, but he went fucking off the rails with it. Just fucking got all.
Just a great story of ego, monstrosity, and shit, and Harvey rearing his head and everything. And everyone knew for years that Harvey was dirty. We didn't know the extent that there was actually like sexual assaults and rapes. Like
but it was always
the casting couch, which.
Yep.
I mean, say what you want about it. The casting couch is not cool, but at the same time, that's why a lot of these cats got into that shit probably.
Right. I know. I was like, what? Harvey was probably like, that was my whole point in doing this shit.
Right.
I kid, obviously, but
well, here's the thing,
to some
though.
degree, you know.
There's predatory sex and assault, and then there's transactional sex. A lot of actresses would be willing to fuck or do whatever to get a part. A lot weren't. But they would get propositioned throughout that process of weeding out the ones who are and aren't. Sure. And then they would get offended and harassed, essentially. You know, there's that distinction between harassment, assault.
Yes, right.
Rape,
if something's propositioned versus like harassing the hell out of you or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
So there's degrees. It's a spectrum like anything else.
But a total monster. And again, a big, pathetic, quivering mass of a monster blocking the door and desperately pleading. The shit you hear.
Can you imagine being one of those women? It would be awful. Just this fucking troll, just ogre pestering you. Which he didn't just proposition, because there's that tape of him with that Italian actress where he just was like that was yeah, but he's like groveling and shit. But it was groveling, right? Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah, it didn't seem like he was using his power so much. It was more like begging, almost. It felt like, but still, just to the point of like, take the hint. You know what I mean? Just like it was just overbearing. I guess
the problem is that it worked in the past. I bet.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. That's why he's doing.
So he's doing it because it worked.
Yeah, even if he strikes out however many times, like when it worked, it was worth it to him. Yeah. But there are other charges that
women should carry pepper spray. Too, if I was a woman, I would definitely have pepper spray on me, and I would have pepper sprayed the shit out of him if he blocked the hotel room.
And yeah, he's been charged and found guilty of worse than that too, like actual assaults on people and shit, like, you know, forcing himself on people, whether, you know.
Dude, what he did to that ficus was
real,
just...
but he was convicted for it. What's that?
I said what he did to that ficus was just unconscionable.
Right. It should press charges.
On behalf of plants everywhere. And then, of course, there's the whole community built up around it. That the agents who knew but sent actresses into those hotel rooms, to the contract he signed that had stipulations in it with escalating payments he had to pay.
Right.
For every suit brought against him. It's amazing. They knew. They were like, this shit's going to get worse and worse and eventually come to a head. What a fucking story. When you have it in your contract that you're going to sexually harass people and shit, that's crazy.
And we could get into your right. We could get into your reasons for picking it, but one is obviously that he's, you know, so Harvey's story in the news and everything in recent years, but also our own personal experience with the Weinsteins, which some I'm sure already are aware of, but those who aren't, Jay and I were we partnered with the Weinstein company on a project, a TV pitch we took out around town and did pitch meetings with, you know, one of their people and stuff. And we talked to Bob on the phone and saw Harvey at their building in their offices, but didn't see Bob and didn't speak to Harvey. So that's kind of funny. We saw one, but spoke to the other, but not the vice versa.
Right. Which is hilarious.
But that all, that was just before shit blew up with Harvey. So
I mean, maybe a year or two, because they actually optioned our TV show, and we had it under option with them, and we got the rights back just before shit really hit the fan. So it was really a year
all that went down before, right? Yeah, but it kind of finished or wrapped up just before their fall. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, man, out of all the places we pitched, that's the spot we wanted to land. We grew up, like I said, on those movies.
It blew our minds when they were in
prestige to us, you know.
Yes.
And that's with us knowing that he was a casting couch creep. So when everyone's like, how did everyone work with him all those years? It's like, not only work with him, but want to above others, because it meant you're making good shit.
That's what gave him the power. Yeah.
Right.
He could abuse. Yeah.
And luckily the whole separating the art from the artist thing, you don't separate the production from the producer. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't give a shit what anyone does in their personal life or whatever.
Yeah, I look at a film just on its own merits, or any work of art, and the artists and everything I can separate. And like you said, even the people behind the artist, even more so, like, is separate from the art. And those things are mutually exclusive of each other, really. You know,
and granted, we didn't know the extent of it, again, like some people on the inside did. Like, you know, the Brad Pitt.
No. It was before all that came to light. Yeah.
Right. So we were still just under that illusion that, he's a fucking asshole, but it means we're making good shit. You know, we got anointed. Yeah. Essentially.
In fact, like, more prominent in my mind were how he was just an asshole, like how he would just be belligerent and, like, you know, just scream at people and belittle them and stuff. I was more aware of that than anything at that time.
Which we were like, bitch, try and fucking yell at me and see what the fuck happens. Not to say I'm some badass, but I'll fucking punch off.
We definitely
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, and at the least we wouldn't be like fucking intimidated by it.
Right. I'd probably laugh. I remember I've told the story once, I think, when I was in boot camp, and a fucking drill instructor's in my face, his fucking Smokey the Bear hat fucking hit me in the forehead, just berating me, and I could not keep a fucking straight face. So I'm pretty sure Harvey wouldn't have fucking...
Yeah, like anytime I landed in the principal's office and shit, it would be the same thing. Just trying to, like, hell not to laugh.
Right.
If you're there with a buddy, you both committed some offense, you know, and you're just like trying to.
I'll go so far as to say I hoped he would try and pull some shit like that on us one day, just to be the guy to be like, "Fuck you, dude. I got nothing to lose." That's the great thing, I guess, about coming from nothing and being broke and shit, and being a starving artist. I mean, it could go two ways. They could string you along if you let them, but you're also like, dude, I have nothing to lose by fucking being the guy.
Like, we're uncancelable because there's nothing to cancel.
Right. I still feel that way. I don't give a fuck.
Exactly.
I mean, not that we've had any great success, but any of it.
But at least we're inoculated from it all to some degree, because
future jobs, whatever. I don't give a fuck.
I don't even want to have a job that operates under, you know, those
Right.
parameters, you know what I mean? That like you have to be cautious about.
Here's a question. Yeah, I posed to you, and if anyone ever fucking deigns to comment on our shit, this would be a good one to comment. If Harvey came back, he did his time, he came back and got back into producing, would you work with him?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think so.
Because if we believe in rehabilitation and penance and doing his time, and what if he came back and
I
he's
just feel like he's radioactive.
The...
Well, that's true. I mean, there's like Mel Gibson and stuff like that. That I mean,
which he wasn't a rapist, but yeah.
No, exactly.
But look at Roman Polanski. He's still making fucking movies, and people love them. The times have changed drastically in the last 10 years, where he would not win an Oscar for The Pianist and shit nowadays. But
I'm just saying, I mean, if it was like no other options and, you know, things were desperate, maybe, but I'm just saying, like, as I am today, I don't.
Yeah, what if we take a script out?
I don't want to work with anyone at this point anyway, so it's kind of like, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm saying, what if we take a script out and no one wanted to produce it because it's some Cactus Jack type shit, and Harvey comes along, he's like, I think this is fucking genius. This is going to be my comeback picture. It's about...
Well, let me say
redemption, which I can relate to or something. I'm just throwing a hypothetical, obviously.
Yeah, like obviously, if we were presented with that, I wouldn't just like have to answer it on the dime, you know.
Yeah, but would your instinct be to be like, no, I will never work with you because you are a rapist?
No,
or would it be because you're radioactive?
It would enter the equation, definitely. And the radioactive thing is mainly what entered my mind. It's just like it didn't feel like it would be...
That's the question. Is it a
hill to die on sort of scenario? You know what I mean?
Right. Are you morally saying, no, I wouldn't want to work with him on a moral or ethical basis? Or is it like, I wouldn't want to deal with all the baggage that comes with it?
That's a little of all of it, I think, because the moral thing I do definitely have a problem with too. It's
but this is after he's paid his penance and done his rehabilitation and all that. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's the real crux of the philosophical question is, do we believe in rehabilitation? Can a guy like that, should he come back and have a second chance at life and doing what he does best if he's a reformed different person? Or are we just like, fuck him forever? I don't know. It's interesting. Maybe the crime is heinous enough that it's fuck him forever, but yeah, I mean, I definitely believe in reform. I feel like someone like years after some offense can definitely be just a different person. Yeah, like we want murderers to be able to get a job and shit when they come back.
Right.
Doing, you know?
But I was just going to say, does he have to be in, like, he could probably just become more of a normal person and not a film producer after that. And, you know what I mean? Like, does it?
You pull up at a Wendy's and fucking Harvey's drive through and shit.
Or even a businessman.
But I'm just saying, do what you do best. He did it better than anyone.
Yeah,
the 90s are owed to him. I'm saying I'm not making a stance here by posing the question. I'm not saying what I would do even. It's just,
I wouldn't rule it out. I guess I'd say like outright, I guess like anything. I wouldn't, that's what my main point of all this is, that I would just need time to think about it like I would anything, you know.
And the question of whether or not you would do it, now, I guarantee you would be socially pressured to not do it by everyone around you, and a lot of it based on their.
It wouldn't be a good look for sure. That's part of it. What was that last thing? Sorry.
Just based on their moralizing, you know, they would be like morally opposed to it. But the question is, should they be if he's rehabilitated, done his time? Because
well, for one thing, you can't be sure someone's rehabilitated. You know, they could just be pretending.
Yeah, but you got to give people the benefit of the doubt. It's just a system. That's a shitty way to operate, is assuming they haven't been. If you do that, you got to do that to everybody, then not just him.
Well, but how do you know in any case that, like, you assume they have, because I guess they've gone through enough, like.
Yeah, well, what if he got out of jail and he
like
gives
what qualifies
speeches on what he did and why it was wrong, and he hasn't done anything wrong, and he's gone through years of fucking therapy, and you know what I mean? He's made amends. He says this next picture he's going to make no profit of it, but give it all to fucking women's shelters or some shit. You know what I mean? I'm just, again, this is a very specific hypothetical.
I'd still be skeptical that's all like it's paying penance in a way, but I'd be skeptical that the person changed just based on that data. You know what I'm saying? That they did all these, like, if anything, they might be overcompensating or trying to just get their good graces back or whatever, and they really haven't reformed deep inside, you know. But then there's the whole question too of, like, any act anyone does, the whole free will thing, you know, like, can anyone be blamed for anything they do on a level, you know, even murderers and stuff, because that's just what their background and their genetics and all these things led them up to or whatever. that's another way you can't operate as a society. Of course, you have to take measures.
That's basically what this question is about. Throw away the Harvey of it, the you of it, the anecdotal specific shit. The question is about rehabilitation, about second chances. Because he's a rich, white, powerful asshole, I feel like people wouldn't want to give him a second chance. You had a good shot, you blew it. Versus, say, a young black guy who got caught up in drugs and shot somebody and even murdered somebody, whereas he didn't murder anybody.
Yeah.
That they're like, they never had a shot, so we got to give them a shot again. That might be the crux of it. But at the same time, money's not everything. Power's not everything. Like, is that how we judge you had your shot? Because it's about money and shit, I don't know. It is weird.
I mean, it could be a case of, he being corrupted by power, that if he were given power again, would he be re-corruptible by it or not, even if he's reformed? And secondly, I even feel if that were the case, he would be so conscious, even if he wanted to exploit his power, he would be less likely to do so because he knows the lenses on him, that.
What part of his story is to me too? As you say, power corrupts. When you work in a corporate system, like the studios have become and had become by the 80s, even the 90s, it's a different kind of corruption. It can't be that tyrannical shit because there's checks and balances, shareholders, you'll get fucking fired, all that. The fact that they were indie producers allowed that power to be concentrated and corrupt him more than had he been in a corporate environment.
Yeah,
but the more money they made, the more debt was fucking spun this way and that way. They started to have to take on investors, and it became the Weinstein company. Because first it was Miramax, named after their mom and dad.
Yep.
A small company. That was the golden age of the 90s. Shit was Miramax. Then it became the Weinstein Company, and that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah,
really, for a guy like that, you can't still be that type of tyrannically corrupt once you start entering that system, and eventually it was his undoing too, to a degree, But all the old studio magnates and shit before it all went corporate, they were all fucking Harveys. That's that kind of independent power, it's the man on the hill in a small town type shit. Different from like the presidential corruption or something, But I don't know, man. It's all interesting to me because fuck the movie. There's not much to say about the movie. It's terrible. It's just a hodgepodge of 80s shit they threw together. I think also something we learned making a movie, they probably were like, what the fuck are we doing? Making a movie sucks. Why are we making this one stupid, shitty movie with these people we could get together?
All that investment of time and effort.
Producing 100 fucking awesome movies at the same time, and then we just sit back and make money. I mean, they were still in the editing room notoriously and shit. So that's the fun part of making a movie. They would just hop in at the fun part, take all the credit, make the most money.
What did I just see in the news? Someone was talking about how they actually had to trick Harvey because he wanted to cut a bunch of his film, and he had to rescue it by tricking the editor into giving him a copy and getting that. I just saw this in the news. I was hoping it would you wouldn't have heard it, but it was just like a couple weeks ago.
Sort of familiar, but
anyway, it'll make
other Harvey anecdotal famous stories. What about the Goodwill Hunting shit though? About them putting that $20 bill or whatever in the middle of it or some shit? No, what was it? It was a scene where like one of them started blowing the other dude or some weird shit, right? They pirated in some scene in the script to see if execs and shit were actually reading the script or not. What was the specific scene?
I was just looking at it was Robin Williams and Skarsgård's character. Skarsgård's one was giving the other one a blowjob or something.
Yeah, some gay shit went down with those two.
And of all the execs in town, the Weinsteins were the only ones who said, "What the fuck was up with that scene?" We put that in there just to make sure people were reading it, and you're the only ones apparently.
I don't know if that's just lore or they talked about.
I think Harvey said that on Stern that happens, but whether that's him just make.
And they've said it. I've read too. Matt Damon's mentioned it and shit, but you always got to wonder with that shit. But if that's the case, though, that's another tick in his direction as far as being an awesome, good producer. The one guy read the shit. Just fucking absurd.
Yeah. Or at least that closely.
And this isn't me being a fucking Harvey apologist at all for the awful shit he did. He should be in prison. He should have been in prison ages ago if that's what he fucking did. And the courts proved out that he did, or at least, you know.
It'd be funny if the other execs
we had courts say OJ didn't do it and shit. So,
right. But, it'd be funny if the other execs did read that scene and they were like, all right, yeah, he gave him a blowjob, so what? You know,
it was his homophobia that fucking did it.
Right, exactly.
What was up with this faggot shit in here? That's what he said. Damn it, did I have to do that? Cancel. Anyway.
Yeah, I can't find whatever that was, that story. But yeah, I got a few notes about it. I'll just throw out just the fucking fantasizing sequences I have jotted down.
Amazing.
I barely remember them, but they were fucking ridiculous.
Amazing. 80s.
The hotel even being possibly a fixer-upper was ridiculous. How fucking bad in the state it was. Where like
everything was like bad movie,
over amplified, yes. Hyperbolic, right? Like the shitty hotel was like to the point of just being condemned and fucking had to be torn down. You know,
the old bridge. See, this is the kind of shit. Like a big part of it is they're going to get shut down in this chemical plant that's going to turn this hotel. It has to be right where this hotel is. It needs to be turned into a chemical dump.
Right. Yeah.
And the kids have to dig a fucking, what do you call it? A fucking field, basically. Dig a big ass hole for human waste and shit. It was like a septic issue.
Yeah.
So if they don't dig this septic
that was what they tried to.
They're fucked. That's the ticking clock is digging the septic issue and getting a backhoe over this bridge, which is what I was getting to. It was another version of that bad hotel shit. The bridge looks all fucked up. Let's get a production team in here to make this bridge look fucked up. And
it looks so fucked up. There's no way this fucking
like nature would never fuck it up that way. Only a film crew would fuck it up.
Yes, like some Disney set or what, you know what I mean? Like Disneyland, like
a fucked up bridge or something. Anyway.
In the same vein, the villains, the suits, you know, in it were just hyperbolic and fucking just
like,
you know,
Dolomite villains,
archetypal. Yeah. I jotted down Lesser Man's Risky Business or Revenge of the Nerds. A little bit of that
fixing up the frat house and shit. Yeah,
Risky Business running, you know, this, which I want to see again. Actually makes me want to see
Risky Business. Good.
Yeah, which had both of those had Booger in it. Like Curtis Armstrong.
Curtis Armstrong's a fucking legend. Better Off Dead.
He should have been in this. It would have helped. Yes. Oh yeah, that's
if there's a museum of the 80s, there should be tucked away somewhere a Curtis Armstrong corner of it.
What the fuck you talking about? It should be a Curtis Armstrong museum.
Should. Dude, let's do one. Let's start a Curtis Armstrong museum. I'll do that shit. It'd be amazing.
And my last note was super cringy at points, especially considering the Harvey of it all. Some of the way the dudes were acting, just all fucking horned up and shit. Like, knowing that Harvey was involved just gave it that extra level of cringe.
Did you look at any pictures of them? I went back. I typed Harvey and Bob Weinstein 1986 because I was like, what did they look like while they were directing this shit?
Share your screen.
Let me see if I can find
whatever. I'll look it up. Other people can look it up too, I guess, if they want.
There was a black and white one of them from 1989 I found, which was like 3 years after making this, but it's hilarious. Just a couple of fat dorky.
Yeah. Is it like them on a rooftop or some shit in the city in the background?
Can you share it if you got it there? Just share screen. Or let me
oops. Unfortunately, sometimes
set the shit to let you. Oh my god. I don't have my glasses
because
on.
like the article it brings you to actually look at the picture.
Yeah, you gotta scroll down.
And I gotta zoom in.
I should have mentioned
that. And I gotta figure out where the share screen button is again. Okay.
But anyway, I was like, what did these guys look like? And I picture so this is 89. Picture 3 or 4 years earlier. These two fucking guys on the set of this film. Get the backhoe across the bridge. This is the big scene. This is the big scene.
Ridiculous.
Okay, Mary Ward, take your shirt off and dive into the pool or the fucking lake or whatever. I'm glad we never saw Bob's face.
The brother dynamic's always interesting, being brothers ourselves creatively and shit.
Totally. But we're pretty even 50-50 on shit. Like, neither of us is the bully, and you know, Bob was the shrinking violet supposedly compared to
right. Yeah, Harvey was just it reminds me of this nest that was growing on in my back balcony at one point, and I watched the eggs, not literally watch them hatch, but I saw it go from that to the birds, the fledglings or whatever. And as they grew bigger and bigger, they were getting too big for the nest, but there was one that was like almost double the size of the other ones, the chicks. And it was like some
baby
they're not crows. I forget what they're called out here in California. I don't think it's technically a crow, but it looks like it. Like anyway, and yeah, this one was like crowding the other ones out. Just this fucking beastly one, just pushing almost the other ones out of the nest just by his size and shit. It kind of makes me think of Harvey, with.
It'd be hilarious if it was an interloper. It was like some neighboring nest.
No shit, right?
Kind of teenagers snuck in to steal the food from the babes and shit. The bullying thing is interesting because I was reading an article about the Weinsteins. It might have been that one there even, but no, it was a different one. It was an article about 3 employees. Maybe that was it. Yeah, 3 past employees talking about Harvey and shit. But one of them talked about the irony of them having produced that documentary Bully about bullying, and Harvey out there talking about bullying as a scourge and all this shit.
Interesting.
And how fucked up that is that meanwhile he's the biggest bully. But I was thinking at the same time, he was probably a bully because he was probably bullied.
Yeah, which is considered to be where most bullying comes from. So
it's ironic though, you say a bully shouldn't be allowed to condemn bullying because it's hypocritical, but it's like, no, they're a bully because they got bullied. They're saying we're going to make more me's possibly. That could have been what he's saying.
Right.
He might even know he's a monster. And he's like, look what bullying turns
warning people off from it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But we always got to take this fucking puritanical, punitive, oh, there he is. He's fucking got him, caught him. You can never give anyone the benefit of the doubt is all I'm saying in public discourse that maybe that's what he's saying. It's always, fuck that guy. He's a fucking hypocrite, It's like, no, sometimes we fully acknowledge that we're the monster or something, when you say something. And you can condemn what you are. That's usually what people are doing.
What I am, yeah.
Homophobes are condemning what they are and shit. You know what I mean?
Right. They're just being hypocrites about it, whereas you could be.
But we act like hypocrisy is the greater crime.
No.
Whoever bullied Harvey was.
Yeah. Didn't some stand? I wish I could think of who it was. They said about Bill Cosby that I think it might have been Norm Macdonald said, my buddy said, what really gets me about the Bill Cosby thing is the hypocrisy of it all. He's like, that's the worst crime that Bill Cosby was being a hypocrite. Yes. Right. How about the
worst part's the rape.
Right.
Yes, exactly. Fucking leave it to Norm to speak some truth, because that's exactly what I'm trying to say. He said it so much better and funnier. Fuck Norm. Let's just go listen to Norm's podcast. Fuck this.
All right. That'll be our show. We'll just share a screen.
Dude, that's a dream guest. Norm Macdonald's favorite movie.
Oh, man.
Holy shit.
Dirty Work, of course.
I'm pissed that you watched that. I would have made it
quite the opposite, actually. I think he hates it.
Well, I heard an interview with Artie actually the other day, some clip of Artie on that show he had with Nick DiPaula, and he was talking about Dirty Work. They were talking about Farley, and he said, we were having a blast making Dirty Work, and I love it still. Norm loves it. We all love the movie.
I do too. Actually, I heard it's bad.
He said critics didn't take to it. But,
right, that's the problem. Exactly. Fuck them.
Dude, let's look up Cisco and Ebert's review of Dirty Work.
Yes.
It's got to be good.
And speaking of Ebert, I guess, it's a perfect segue because I'm pretty done with playing for keeps. I don't know if I have more to say about it.
No, I think we took an interesting angle into it at least. Compared to just, anyway, critiquing our own shit. Ebert documentary. Oh, good.
What were we just talking about? Looking up Ebert's review of what?
Dirty Work. If he even bothered to review it, but sure.
Jamie, look that up.
No shit, dude. Get Jamie Gilardi or whatever to be our Jamie. It'd be hilarious.
Jamie, our Jamie, hilarious.
Do we have our own Jamie, dude? Can we have him on remotely, just sitting back there to Google shit for us? Old Jamie, dude. Old Jamie.
I looked it up and I was like 2.5 stars. Fucking Ebert, Dirty Work. Oh, there's another movie called Dirty Work. It's a different, which I wasn't even aware of.
Probably some Vim Vendors or a Fassbender movie or some shit.
I don't see anything about Dirty Work. Anyway, so Life Itself.
I'll summarize it. Life Itself is a documentary made by Steve James, who made Hoop Dreams. And if you've never seen it, my favorite of all his documentaries, Stevie, one of the great documentaries ever fucking made. Great, just character pieces. Stevie, must watch.
That was one of the first documentaries that really pushed, documentaries over the edge for me, just where they could, the kind of effect they could have on you and stuff. Because prior to that, is growing up, documentaries were usually a little more dry and stuff, and just like about World War II or what have you,
Yeah, not about a human,
historically driven,
or humanity. It was about,
which Hoop Dreams was too, but I hadn't seen it yet by the time I saw Stevie. So that was my first introduction to, documentaries that like
Hoop
Life
Dreams
itself did.
It's still just so much bigger. Stevie's just small and personal and intimate. And it's amazing, dude. Well, Steve James, Ebert was a huge champion of Hoop Dreams. He kind of put Steve James on the map. Steve James owed his life, you could argue, critically at least, to Ebert. And it's really cool then, Ebert being such a champion of his, meaning a fanboy, essentially. That's what critics are, when they champion someone like that. To get him to make your documentary, that's pretty sweet. I was happy for Ebert that Steve James made the documentary about him,
Yeah, it was perfect.
Steve James, by the way, is kind of a mentor to Bing Liu, who had an Oscar nomination a couple years ago with Minding the Gap, a documentary he made. And we love Bing. Bing was the grip on the first short film we ever made. So we had an Oscar nominated documentarian as a fucking grip on a short film. But,
I still have to see Minding the Gap too. I have to confess.
Oh, really?
It's actually on my list of picks. I wasn't sure if you had seen it yet or not.
No, but I'm still waffling over what my pick is for this week. So I might make it that just to make you watch it. It's fucking great.
Oh, I was just saying it was on my list of picks. But I wasn't sure if you had seen it.
I've seen it.
But you can pick
I'll
it
watch
if you
it again.
want.
It's something that should be highlighted to people who might not be aware of it. It's fucking great too. Anyway, Bing was great. You could tell from that time, even like this dude is going to win at life. Just great attitude, great worker.
Yeah.
Bing is one of the best
clutch.
fucking people I ever met in my life. We haven't kept in touch or anything, but if you ever catch wind of this, you're the shit, dude. Always were, always will be. He's working on an adaptation of a feature film I read somewhere too now. So good for him, segueing that shit. Steve James, fucking legend, made the Ebert documentary, which is about Ebert's last years, the surgeries he went through. I mean, it's kind of a retrospective. He wrote an autobiography called Life Itself, so it works in that regard a bit. It's about him and Siskel and their relationship, which is fucking great. But primarily, it's about his last days when his jaw was literally like a fucking hoop. Like the lip rings some of those tribes put in.
Nightmares.
Yeah, without the plate in there, just the lip dangling shit. That's like what his jaw became. It was fucking nightmarish. But how he still had an impish at times spirit, still was inspired.
I don't think I'd have that level of fucking spirit that he did.
No, he's a true writer. That blog, I don't think I'd blog and shit like it. Maybe I would. Probably if that was my only
Well, it's the only thing you can do at that
I'd
point.
blow my fucking head off personally.
I know. Or just like someone pull the plug, or just fucking call Dr. Kevorkian.
And just how amazing his wife Chaz is. And
maybe that's partly what kept him hanging on, actually.
Yeah, she seemed. I mean, there are a couple of interesting things near the end where like he did the DNR without her knowing it because she wouldn't.
Oh yeah.
That.
Well, because he knew she'd fight for him too much.
Right, which is fucked up.
Around.
That's the way love can make you hurt somebody or perpetuate the pain someone is in for your own sake and shit. Which, I mean, I'm not going to say she didn't truly love him, but I will say if you truly love someone, the move is to let them go if they're in that much pain. I understand humanely, and as a writer and shit, of course, how people love someone so much they can't let them go, but it's like you got to, dude.
I wonder though, as part of that, whether it would be that she thinks that it's good for him to hang on to, as long as I don't know, you know what I mean, that it's not just selfish and that it's like,
right.
I think there's like this ingrained belief because like euthanasia in general is outlawed often because people are like, I don't agree with it, but I'm just saying I think that might be part of what's entering your mind. It's just that it's better for him to hang on to life and not.
Well, and also it probably had been,
but DNR's a whole,
and I think you even saw that through his interactions with Steve James. There's a very fucked up, sad moment near the end where Steve James is trying to catch up with him and say, hey man, we still got these certain subjects on the dock. I don't know how you're feeling these days. And he was just like, it's hard.
I can't.
I'm done. I can't, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, fuck. You know, in those days, he truly wanted to go. And there were a couple times where he said, kill me.
Yeah.
But if he said, kill me Monday, and then Tuesday, he's like, let's have a picnic and shit.
Right, exactly.
I could see how she
that's
would
what
say
I'm talking
she'd
about.
resuscitate him because it's the yo-yo they're on.
Like, right, you might just be in a feeling. But the DNR thing, though, is different. I was just, as I was saying, I was thinking about that it's, that's like if you're not able to even... But then some people even hold on to the belief that you'll come through and come out the Terry Schiavo thing famously back in the day. You know, some people were like, you know, what if there's this like miraculous
still
chance
around?
I don't even remember. I think they I feel like the outcome was they pulled the plug, but I don't even remember.
I think there was some of that with like Whitney Houston or her daughter or something too.
It is
do you pull the plug or not? Hey,
subject,
everyone out there, if it's me, go down in the basement and hit the circuit breaker and just fucking kill everything. Turn the whole fucking, you know, don't just unplug me. Make sure that shit
thing is with
plugged
me,
back in.
If it's not a burden, see, the only reason I'd say do not resuscitate me is if it's
you don't want to be a burden on people.
Exactly. That's the only reason. Because otherwise I would hang on. I would, because for me, it's not. So for some people, it's like, I don't want to be just this vegetable and in this comatose state and not living life and stuff. But if you're still dreaming and they're filling you up with, you know, morphine or whatever, I mean, I almost want to just like, it seems like it could be a wild, like last.
Yeah, for sure.
Chapter,
I can see that.
You know
too.
what I mean? Just in your head, like whatever fucking plays out, whatever it is, it could be insane, you know, but.
And I went through nothing like him, but I did go through chemo and shit. And you can, trust me, take it from me, passively sleepwalk your way through this kind of shit. I could see him just kind of, like you said, being in a dream state. But the problem is it's the expectations. It's the burden of expectations too. What does everybody want from me? When everyone comes to visit in the room today, if I'm having a bad day, I don't want to hawk out on these grandkids and shit. But you know, my instinct would be to crawl under the porch and die like a dog or something alone, unobserved. But that's impossible when you're in that state. I mean, he had suctionings where I imagine
support.
What is it, like postnasal drip that he can't swallow and get rid of himself? They'd have to come in and suck out of his face routinely and shit.
And it looked painful, man. It looked like he was you know.
But to him, life itself, I mean, life. Let's talk about life, because he was one of those people who really thinks in terms of life, every life being so precious. And that's what the movies is about, you know?
That's true.
Conveying how precious and precarious human life is. So he wanted to hold on to it to the last second, I guess. But
just milk everything you can out of it, even if it like, because he did even speak to that, right, where he was saying that it was like a chapter, again, a final chapter that does involve all this struggle and stuff, and in a way it's sort of heroic or something. I don't think he used that word, but you know,
he was
sort of
the way he got up and put his best foot forward, and that blog, the way it took off, and the way he just kept doing it. He's like, I'm not gonna let this stop me from doing what the fuck I love, which is watching movies and talking about them to people. And you know,
I love how thrilled he was when they had the website up, because he did realize it is this like legacy, and it has worked too. Because like Ebert, you know, his site is still like a thriving place that, you know, his archives, his fucking whole record will be available to anyone forever, at least until the EMP blast hits or whatever. But
we have his books at least. So.
Like had that not been put, that's true. But I don't think people would access it as much, you know. But had that not happened, you know, he may just fade away in a couple of generations or something. But with this, it might persist, you know.
I feel bad because I've been on a massive wormhole lately, and it's ironic because I started it before you made this your pick, which was serendipitous and cool as shit. Of watching old Cisco Ebert clips.
That was partly why
on YouTube. Just the nostalgia of it. That period. Or late 80s, mid to late 80s, early 90s to mid 90s, maybe even late 90s, I'd say. Yeah. I remember watching that show all the time. It really keeping that love of film churning and shit, or that fire burning for me. That they weren't super pretentious. Siskel was kind of more so than Ebert, but now when I look back at all these old ones, I'm amazed at how many movies Ebert shit on.
Yeah.
Especially comedies. Like, Dirty Rotten Scoundrel, he's gave a thumbs down to and shit.
You said Dead Poet Society, which
Dead
is
Poet Society. He gave a
considering
thumbs
what we
down.
just did with our podcast. When that, go check it out.
Yeah, Oscar-winning script. I mean,
Reunion.
Dead Poet Society is amazing, and definitely check out that episode.
I was almost brought it up in that episode, but I remember from some sitcom. I don't remember the sitcom, but a character in it who was inspired, like had been depressed for a while and suicidal, and then became inspired to live life and everything. And the other person asked her, oh, what made you change your life like that? And she goes, well, have you ever seen the movie Dead Poet Society? And the other one goes, yeah, I love that movie. And she's like, I fucking hated it. The one who had, you thought she was going to say it like inspired me. She's like, it inspired me to go make something better. Cause if everyone fucking loved it and I thought it was shit or something, I just like turned it. It was a joke, you know, obviously it was like, it was a sitcom. So it was like turning it on its head. Like, oh yeah, that movie's so inspiring. I fucking hated it. You know?
Well, it was that he was very cynical about shit like that. And I see it. It is emotionally manipulative and shit. But that's, you know,
well, it depends on what point, again, you are in your life, too, because we were like adolescents, like as the kids were in the movie and stuff.
Had Ebert seen that shit as a teenager, he would have fucking ate it up.
Right.
But even now, I just rewatched it. It holds up like a motherfucker to me. So.
Yeah, agreed. Like Patch Adams, another Robin Williams movie, famously, we loved it when it came out, but then we went to watch it again, and the tone and everything was just like, oh.
It's what he accused Dead Poet Society of being.
Exactly. That's where I was going with that.
But Peter Weir does not play that game with the saccharine music and bullshit. It's not emotionally manipulative. It's just emotional.
Yep.
You know. Dead Poet Society for life. Shout out to Gail Hansen, Tom Schulman, Dylan Cussman.
Did this come up? Do people have Dead Poets tattoos of any kind, the characters or anything?
I'm sure they do.
Or something. It must be out there.
Sure, man. Look at the Twitter life it has and shit. It's crazy. The TikTok, there's a big TikTok thing about Dead Poets. It's crazy, man.
Right, it is.
Now, Ebert and his
fucking following
reviews.
Dead Poets tattoos.
I started wondering, that guy who interviewed us for Cactus Jack, that German film interviewer, critic, I guess.
Yeah, just released
We're gonna have him on the podcast. I want to talk to him about film criticism and the role criticism plays in art. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Ebert and Siskel both, of course, think that they were doing God's work. That criticism is a critical component of art. You know what I mean? That art exists to be criticized, essentially, almost, which that's debatable, I think. Oh shit!
Yeah,
look at that, Mr. Keating. That's a good job.
Yes, the desk, standing on the desk. Some of these are so random.
That's funny.
The choices, like, you know, you think like, okay, yeah, Keating or the Carpe Diem or whatever, but like the feet on the desk. That's
the DPS with the wreath. That's like the more tasteful kind of shit I would get if I were to get one.
Exactly. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Carpe Diem, of course, but
that's what is that? Just the script. That's cool. Yup. Oh, nice. What is this one on the left there? Thigh tattoo quote. One row up. Yeah. What is that quote? Which is that?
Yeah, it's too out of focus. Shit. I know I can't see. That's the problem with this fucking image thing. If I click the site,
poetry is what we stay alive for. I think it's what it's.
Oh, you're looking at the different.
We don't read and write poetry because. All right, yeah, it's that quote. Yeah. I was wondering which quote it was.
Yeah.
I like script tattoos sometimes, like that shit Angelina Jolie had on her rib cage and shit.
Yeah, that was cool. What was that again? Do you remember?
No, probably some
like
Hebrew or some
scripture
shit
thing or something. Yeah.
I don't know if she really had that or if that was for that movie. I just remember Wanted, the trailer or whatever.
Right. So let me see. I got some notes on life itself we could go through.
Oh, one thing I'll say real quick. Shit. I always thought Siskel was the one with the stick up at his ass. Meanwhile, that motherfucker is in the grotto at the Playboy Mansion kicking it with bunnies
dude, he was living the life, dude.
I had no idea Siskel with his fucking Herzog mustache was just out there getting down. That's awesome. Good for him. I know you might frown on that nowadays in 2021 and shit, but man, motherfuckers are just trying to have fun.
That's it. It's harmless.
I do feel like motherfuckers do not know how to have fun nowadays. I was just watching old Howard Stern clips where they had an intern beauty pageant. Nowadays, that would be looked at so bad.
We're so puritanical now.
Yeah, these girls working for free who then have this pageant where they come in and shit. totally objectifying, subjectifying, but that's the point of it all. But the girls were all in on it.
Yeah,
they were cooler
as long
about
as
it.
They're down. You know, what's the problem? Exactly.
And you know
they're
what?
having fun, whatever.
One of the girls' dads called in, and he thought he'd be all admonishing. He's like, she's a big girl. She's 22. If she wants to show her pierced nipple to Howard Stern, whatever. That's on her.
Right.
Good for you, Dad. Good for you.
The only reason it's like considered wrong is because of like these puritanical views. It's like,
right. That is the problem with
otherwise, how is it an issue at all if everyone's like, again, having fun with it and no one's being harmed?
Like we rant on the cancel culture shit a lot. It's the words harm shit now. Sticks and stones is long gone.
Yeah.
That shit might as well be just a relic of the past, because now it's like words wound worse. It's like the
doesn't ring true for anyone now for whatever reason. Yeah.
I'm trying to raise my boy that way. Like, you can't get wounded by words. Fuck that shit.
And the objectification thing is, it's not saying that the person is just an object.
Exactly.
They're just saying, yeah, they're attractive, but they're not saying that they can't also be intelligent and artistic and all these other, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
remember Ryan
just
talking
because
about,
you see someone as like attractive, like physically, isn't negating the possibility that they're not just that. You know what I'm saying?
It's ironic. It makes you the sexist. If you're against pageants, you're the one who's marginalizing those women and saying they're only bimbos being objectified, and that they're being
that they don't have something else to offer by default just because they're also
that they're being exploited or used. It's like, no, maybe everyone weighs the pros and cons and they know exactly what the fuck they're getting into, you know, and it's something they like,
right?
You know, some people like being the object of affection
with them doing what they want to do,
you know. Exactly. And remember how Ryan was talking about these, like the black actors and Malcolm and Marie being the mouthpieces, and I was like, are you saying that they're suckers, basically?
Right.
Because that's what you're saying. If you were to say these girls in this intern pageant are being preyed upon, or they're suckers, like, give them some credit. Maybe they think it's fun and they're like, I'm young and I'm going to do this shit while I'm young. Yeah. It's cool and cut loose. And
they're probably looking back at it now just like, that shit was crazy. That was fun. Right. That was, you know what I mean? I doubt they're like,
their teenage daughter is like, oh my God, Mom, I can't believe you let yourself be so objectified. Right, shit. It's like, dude, well, there would have been Gloria Steinem's perhaps, or whoever at the time. I'm sure there were tons of vocal feminist critics of that interns party then as well. But it's like, that's become kind of the norm now. That's what's scary. Anyway, back to Ebert for a minute. I don't know how much time we have, but we got to make our picks too at some point, which I kind of forgot my pick. So I'm kind of sweating right now.
Like I said, I had notes and shit, but whatever.
No, you can get to some of them if you want.
Let's do our picks first, because make sure we get them in.
I'm trying to think.
Okay, well, let me see.
I have like
I'm not even going to be able to think about my notes either if I start going into all this. Let's see. God damn, I totally forgot we had to do fucking picks.
Do your notes while I think about my pick, and then while I'm making my pick,
all right,
think about it.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So Steve James, Stevie, we talked about. Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Yes. Well, and Ebert was like fat guy, so he's into tits and shit through movies, whereas Siskel's skinny guy's at the Playboy Mansion.
Right, yeah. More voyeuristic.
As a fat guy, that struck me.
Wallflowerish, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
By the way, though, Ebert was tearing it up too in his younger days when he was first getting into journalism and stuff and going across the street to the
guy at the bar. Sounded like everyone loved him, even if you got in an argument with him. He was still cool and shit though.
Just always smiling. And
I love Ebert, man. Fucking always love that dude.
Yes. And he was on Stern a lot too. Both of them appeared as well together, but sometimes it was just Ebert, and he had a great rapport with Stern, man. They were just constantly fucking,
because he's so deceptive. You see him, this fat dude with his glasses. You think the way he dressed in those Swiss, blazers, corduroy blazers and shit, just that you would think he's kind of pretentious or kind of uppity, but no, he was down as fuck, dude.
Totally.
Love him.
I just have a note here. I vaguely remember it. See, that's the problem. Like when we did the Drive one, I had just watched it, so it felt so fresh. I was like, I could key in on any scene in my mind and stuff. But like these, I saw a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, kind of
gotta get on them quicker. Maybe we should wait till I watch something to then watch it.
Yeah.
So my life is way worse for this shit.
Cinema Interruptus. I think it was some kind of like a class that Ebert did where anyone in the class could stop the film and they would discuss if they
That's
wanted.
cool.
But, yeah, I was thinking about that with you and me, because one of the things I do when I watch a film, I do stop it, especially taking notes.
We used to do that a lot when we watched together.
Yeah,
we'd have the remote and somebody could stop it and talk.
Yeah, but it was
we'd
rare. It wasn't. Yeah, we wouldn't like stop it to discuss that much or anything. It would be like to take a leak or something. I don't remember like stop here, let's talk about this scene kind of like approach. Really.
Well, sometimes when one of us would just start talking during the movie because something was interesting, then somebody would hit pause.
Yeah,
it wouldn't hit pause first.
Yeah. That's the distinction, I guess. When Chaz found the Bible in his room, I take it this isn't yours.
Amazing. That made me fucking chortle out loud and shit.
Yes. Pauline Kael was mentioned, who's like a predecessor, like the OG like reviewer that everyone was citing and stuff. At least the one that
she did not
like
give a fuck either.
Yeah, she seemed awesome.
Now I will say she brought a lot of the feminine gaze type criticism, which I learned about, that kind of criticism through a prism, through a window, not objective. You know what I mean? But I'm going to look at this movie as a feminist and stuff. That to me is always interesting.
See, I haven't noticed that yet. I haven't read a ton of her shit, just a little bit, but I didn't catch on to that.
I'm pretty sure she might not have been like the godmother of it. There was another, whose name escapes me, but yeah, I'm just saying that kind of criticism. I feel like we've moved. This is something I want to get into with this German dude, into this era of criticism through identity politics, lensing. And,
it should be better if you remove yourself from the equation, right?
Ebert and Siskel, if you go and watch their old clips,
at least in that respect,
they push back on political correctness all the fucking time. It's great. That's the value that they had, that kind of criticism. And they called out criticism that kowtowed to political correctness and shit, They're like, that's not our jobs. But a whole generation of critics, I feel like it's just, I don't know,
agenda driven. Yeah,
and virtue signaling and shit to a degree. They're taking into account shit. I even feel like that first review we got in the Daily Beast for Cactus Jack was doing this, kind of had made up its mind about the film before watching it, and then are arguing points to support what it whatever
fits that narrative.
Yeah, and if you want to be that kind of critic, fine, whatever. You can be any kind of critic you want. You can do it through the lens of a fucking duck-billed platypus and shit or whatever, for all I care. I'm just saying, I want to know what you really fucking thought and felt without all the bullshit and expectations of what others might think of your thoughts and shit, And that's what
part of
Ebert
the point
and Siskel were both like, fuck the other guy's thoughts.
Part of the point of fiction too is, whether it's film, books, whatever, is to get you to get into the heads of the characters and not have your own POV. Right. It's more about the characters' POV and why they see the world they do and, move through it the way they do and everything, versus
this film is problematic because shut up.
Problematic's kind of good with art again too. It's meant to, incite and get people talking about controversial things. And
all right, fuck.
Keep pushing that.
I'm down to 2 picks. The one thing that's fucking me up about this week's pick is I know Zardoz is my vestigial one. So I want to make something that's a counterpoint to that, a comedy or whatever, but it's between the Zack Snyder Justice League fucking movie, the 4-hour Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League.
So that's a movie and not a series?
Yes.
I thought it was,
and it's all the rage right now, but maybe we should do a Cinephiliacs about that with Larry Lasky and some people or something. Maybe.
I'm sure we'll get people who want to talk about that. Yeah. All right.
So I'm going to pick Moonwalkers. Oh man, it's still in cellophane.
Oh, is that the one about the Kubrick filming
This is one of the craziest
the lunar landing
fucking movies I've ever seen. Yes, it's Ron Perlman's big ass fucking Easter Egg Island head, and Rupert Grint, that fucking ginger from Harry Potter, running around in an insane psychedelic treatment of the Kubrick lunar landing hoax fucking recording shit. It's amazing.
Crazy.
It's that or Zardoz. They're unfortunately kind of the same. Yeah, but you got to see it.
Okay.
They're similar.
No, that's cool. It's just, I'm curious because Zardoz you have not, I'm sure, right?
Zardoz feels like the movie that this kind of shit is satirizing,
Yes,
parodying,
yes,
or
it
whatever.
informs it. It's just, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But yes, I have not seen Zardoz yet, which
necessarily,
is
but
a huge gap because, like, I know a buddy of mine, Dave Beckerman, like that's like his shit. I think his Twitter.
Sean
handle's even,
Connery's
like,
in that,
Zardoz.
right?
Yes,
Which would be crazy to see.
wearing like this weird red fucking Flash Gordon looking singlet and shit. It's hilarious. Anyway, we're probably running out of time. What do you got?
Well, I was supposed to spend my time. See, I was thinking that wouldn't work because we have to talk
probably
about
not.
your pick and shit.
Do you have it whittled down?
Not really.
You're alone, right?
Yeah. Is it cool if I start filming now?
No, when we get inside.
Why are you here?
I just thought it was really interesting, you know, that someone hasn't left their basement in 6 months, not even to use the bathroom. Is that true?
Why would I want to go out there? I got everything I need right here. That's what's wrong with most people. They're weak-willed pussies and parasites who buy into that whole "it takes a village" bullshit. You know how many aliases I've used calling into radio shows?
I've had it up to my goddamn gills with the systematic feminization of this country.
Harvey, of course we want you. Get your own damn show if you think you got that much to say.
You live in your mom's basement.
Fuck you! What's so special about my loser son?
You really do hate your own mother.
She's a woman. Why wouldn't I?
You know, there's some disconnect there, and if I could find it, what is hate? Where does it come from? Where does it go?
You want to know what gender you are? Reach down the front of your fucking pants. Shoot fucking kite. Black Lives Matter. Do you call horses slaves? Liberal fucktard. Enough with the parades and the rainbow flags.
Dude, this guy's... it's like pure hate, man.
I want to see something really fucking cool.
This guy is a fucking animal. He's got himself on a leash. He's itching to get off that fucking leash. And he's gonna fucking kill some people.
You want to fucking show?
Stop!
What do we hear?
Look at me! Look at me!
We're gonna help you show them the light. We're gonna change the world.
This is Cactus Jack coming to you live from a studio audience.
To the man who calls himself Cactus Jack, we have watched as you have rocketed to infamy.
And you wonder why these cornered animals lash out. Pick a fucking side.
And now, we have watched as you have called for literal blood.
I know you're out there listening. It's buzzing in your ears, burrowing into your brain. Do it.
Jack, you're gonna love this. I pulled that trigger on that motherfucker's head.
Your VPN will not shield you. The darknet will not hide you. You and your kind are finished.
You think I'm scared of you?
Come and fucking get me!
Might I be your neighbor? Neighbor?